great?
Uh, people very much related. This is the first time we're recording after it's like already the episode of Em and Jen Fall Apart came out. People really liked that, huh?
I was shocked. I was shocked.
I'm like, no one's gonna listen to this. After we record it, you were like, let's not air it. You didn't
Well,
want to air
and
it.
I think you said at the beginning, like people are going to turn this off after 2 seconds. And we
That's
got a
not what
lot of,
happened.
and it just speaks to the fact that like when we are authentic on here, that other people feel seen. And it's just,
Or it speaks to the fact that everyone's falling the fuck apart.
right. Exactly. Right. And that's why they feel seen because we're all falling apart together. Right. You're not alone. So if
So
you got anything from that, it's that you're not alone.
you were not alone. So we will try more often to fall apart into these microphones. No problem.
I don't think we have to try very hard.
It's a good point.
I just
Solid point. I hear what you're saying.
don't think it really feels, like a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Now I understand. Yeah.
It just happens.
All right. Okay.
But we have a question.
We have a question. You know what? Also, Nikki brought up to me that I always say listener name, and she's like, that's such a Quaker, like the fact that like Emilee's Quaker school, it's like teacher Nancy, right? Like teacher Michelle.
Yeah. I love when you do it.
And so then I was like, listener Sarah. And Nikki was like, why do you say that?
Right. Why don't you just say Sarah?
So Sarah wrote in.
I like listener Sarah.
She said, what's your most favorite and least favorite thing about running your own business?
Oh, God. Could go on for days.
Favorites working for myself. Like, right? Like not.
Yeah.
Actually, sometimes I really wish I was working for someone else. They told me what to do.
I don't know. I love working for myself. I just have a hard time. This is a me thing.
I feel like I work for Millie, so sometimes I don't feel like I work for
That's true. That's probably why it's a little challenging to get to that feeling right now because she is your boss.
She is my boss. So is that yours? Working for yourself? Is that your favorite?
Yeah, I think so. And I think like being able to build something like feels really fulfilling. Like just that there's so many different directions to go in to be able to like build something, and you just see it's like, honestly, I'm not having children. It's like my baby. And I feel like I'm like developing my child. And so just like watching it grow, that's what I really love about it.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your favorite thing?
Managing people, and then my least favorite thing is managing people.
Yeah.
Right. So like my favorite thing is like every person who works for us is like the best person in the goddamn earth. Every single person at our practice, we are obsessed with. There was not a single person on our staff that we'd be like, not great. Like we love everyone so much. And so I love seeing our clinicians, spending time with our clinicians and getting to know them and doing consult calls with them. And then also the managing of people that like we weren't trained to do this. I've never managed people before. So sometimes that can be hard when you have to give feedback or someone's upset with something. I'm not great if people are mad at me. And that happens because it's just like the environment. So I would say both of those things are my favorite and least favorite.
Yeah. My least favorite is that you never stop working. And by you, I mean, I never stop working. It just always.
I mean, yesterday we were on the phone, and how many times did I say, put your laptop down?
Because
I was like, stop working.
Tired.
Stop working. I was like,
and then I was like, yeah, you're right. And then we hung up, and then I just kept texting about things that we had to do. I'm so sorry.
I work a lot, but you really struggle with turning off, which your brother is the same exact way. So that must be genetic.
So is my dad.
Yeah. So it's a genetic thing you guys have. Yeah. I do feel like I work so much, but sometimes I'm like, Jen, what are you still talking? But also you are different because you get into flow states. And then I think it's really hard for you to take yourself out of it, or you're concerned. But although last night I went up, at 8 PM was writing out that job description.
Exactly. So that's the thing.
Sometimes I do too. Like I was like, I just need to do this right now or else I'm not going to do it.
That's exactly what happens. And when I get into the flow state, just so you know, you don't have to respond to me.
I don't.
I just need to. Yeah, you don't. I just need to get it out of my body and into, some forum. So yeah, I think that's the hardest thing is also the thing I love. And the thing I hate is that I never stop working.
Oh yeah. Both of those things are true, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But today, something, and some days we do feel stuck in this business.
Yes.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about feeling stuck.
And I think we feel stuck in like multiple ways, you know?
What multiple ways do you think?
I'm sorry for the pause. I don't know where my quick time is. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please cut this out, Nikki. I apologize.
Our least favorite thing is the technical part of this podcast.
It was hiding.
And we are very bad at.
It was hiding. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think in stuck, ways that we feel stuck. Where do I feel stuck? You know, and like right now, location wise, I feel stuck. It's usually when there's stuff that's just out of my control.
Yeah.
That it makes me feel stuck. And I think sometimes we get into the trap of human beings of feeling like things are out of our control when maybe we have a little bit more control than we think we do. And then on the flip side of it, sometimes we think we have more control over things that we actually have no control over. So I wonder if we'll, dive into that a little bit around feeling stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's go. Okay. So somebody asked, what mantras can you give people who are stuck or avoiding change?
There's a bunch of them, but I think one thing that I'd like to say to myself is this will pass. This too shall pass, as they say.
How religious of you.
I know. Is that religious?
I think.
Is it?
I think so.
This shall pass. Yeah, Google it.
Okay.
If it's religious,
it brings up something different for you.
Not on brand. Not on brand for me. But just that everything that you're experiencing is.
Oh, it's not. It's not a scripture. I'm sorry.
It's not. Okay, good. Don't you worry. I don't keep those scriptures.
I wasn't sure.
And I was like, Matthew.
Secular podcast, everyone. Okay.
Right. I don't know how that works. But just reminding myself, and you hear me say this all the time, that this is going to pass, right? This is just a moment in time. That's something that I think is really helpful. Another one is just grounding yourself in the present, to remind yourself that the more present that you can be, the more you can calm the emotions that are coming up for you. I think sometimes when we're feeling stuck, we start to ruminate and think about the future. What can I do differently? And so to ground yourself back into the present can be really helpful. Another thing is just trusting the process. Sometimes we think so quickly into, well, okay, if I want to get here, I have to do all of these steps in order to get to that place. So just trusting the process of getting to that place, knowing that it can be slow and knowing that you can still make change, but you might not see it immediately.
Yeah. We had, remember when ShrinkChicks used to have seasons, which now we don't.
No, I think it does.
Does it? Well, whatever season it is or was. In season like 1 or 2, we had Alanna Gardner on, and she's one of our dear friends, an amazing therapist. And she has a mantra that I have always kept with me that she said on the episode, where she said, little by little, little becomes a lot.
Yes.
So I think when we really talk about getting stuck or avoiding change, we have this idea that it needs to be instantaneous or so different, right? Like one day I'm just going to wake up and everything's going to change. And like sometimes you hear about people that have these like light bulb, like moments that change everything. That's never been my experience. For lots of people, it isn't. And so we think for me, it's a little by little, a little becomes a lot. Yes. So that is the mantra that I use, that I've taken from Alanna, and that might be helpful for someone else too.
I love that. Also, just, I think something that really keeps us stuck is this fear, right? This fear that we're not going to be able to do it. We won't be able to adapt. And so because of that, we very much keep ourselves in the same position, even if the position is uncomfortable for us. So I think, I'm sorry, there was a thumbs up that came up on the camera. Don't know how that happened.
How did that happen?
I think it was because I went like this.
Holy shit. Wait. The fuck it did. Oh my God. Should we talk about how we saw if you are watching on YouTube right now, we just discovered technology. Okay, can we also tell people how we saw Shen Yun? Oh no, you didn't go to Shen Yun.
I didn't go. But it's nice that you felt like I was there. Thank you. But tell the story, please.
Okay. If you are listening, do you know what Shen Yun is? You have seen the posters everywhere. everywhere. China before communism. They plaster this motherfucking shit everywhere. It is used as wallpaper. It is at every cash register we've ever been to, every laundromat, every dry cleaner that's ever existed. It is every nail salon. Everywhere is
their marketing budget is.
They are spending a small fortune on Shen Yun marketing. So I was like, you want to know what? I'm gonna go. They have put so much effort into this. I want to go see China before communism dance performance. And Jen was like, oh, my mom asked me to go like see this like Chinese ballet. And I was like, Shen Yun. Okay. So morning of Shen Yun, wake up. Jen's like, my mom forgot to buy the tickets. Jen doesn't go to Shen Yun. Very on brand. I go to Shen Yun with my friends, and like the beginning, right? We're like, oh man, this is so cool. It's really beautiful. It's like they have these dresses that are amazing. Am I gonna get sued for this?
I'm not sure. Maybe we'll figure this out.
This is gonna end up getting so the art is so beautiful. You come to find out halfway through, it is actually religious. And they have a lot of feelings around atheism and evolution that they believe are harmful to the world. And halfway through, I'm like, oh, this is not what I thought it was gonna be. But I'm already here and I've already paid for it.
You know,
and for some reason in Shen Yun, they were doing a lot of thumbs up.
Did you? Oh, really?
That's what made me think about it.
Really?
Yeah. So you did that thumbs up, and that's why I was thinking about it. For some reason, there was a large amount of thumbs up in Shen Yun.
Interesting.
Yes. Up to you if you want to go. Please don't sue me, Shen Yun.
Did you? They have a large marketing budget, so they might. So good luck.
Hopefully, they're using all their budget on marketing and not legal fees. Either way, beautiful dancers. Beautiful really dancers. Amazing performance.
Did you feel stuck in the performance? You know, if we're talking about feeling stuck.
Yeah, I was more like, I'm committed, right? So like, is there a difference between stuck and commitment would be a larger conversation, right? I had already shown up. I was committed to that day. I didn't really feel stuck there, but I decided I was going to be committed to this whole through. I disagreed with some of the things they were saying in this performance, and yet I had committed and I wanted to see this through.
She's a committed lady.
Yeah, and that is not the same as stuck, right? So if I was feeling stuck, I would have felt maybe my body would have felt really tense, really suffocated. I really feel like I wasn't allowed to leave. At no points I feel like I wasn't allowed to leave. But I think that sometimes people are like, well, is this a stuck feeling? Is this a disagreement? Right? Like sometimes it's hard to suss out what the emotion actually is.
Well, I like that you said, like, I didn't feel like I couldn't leave. Like, there might be some people when they feel stuck, right? There's a lot of fear of, well, what are other people going to think if I get up and leave? What are other people going to say? Someone going to yell at me that I'm interrupting, right? So, like, if you're someone who feels stuck in a situation, I would ask yourself, what are the fears that are coming up for you? And, before we started talking about Shen Yun, we were talking about how sometimes the fear of making that change or doing something different keeps us in a situation that we might be uncomfortable with, like Shen Yun.
I will say, like halfway through, I was like, I am not very comfortable with this. But it wasn't like, like whatever, like everyone has free speech and everyone has the right to say whatever they want. And I had the right to leave if I wanted to. And I wasn't going to do that. I mean, the performance was amazing. They were very talented. Beautiful costume. I mean, it was very interesting to do. And, listen, I still respect that they spend probably their entire budget on marketing.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to like try to like pull you into a religion,
Yes. Listen, let me tell you, if I was susceptible, I would have been sold.
I would rather, sometimes they come up to you on the street and they someone who's like trying to get you to join their religion, they give you a book. I would rather them do like a beautiful dance.
It was enticing, in like a mating ritual, like a peacock comes and like does a performance, like entice me. That is how I felt.
I would so much rather someone come up to me and do this like lovely dance. Yes. It doesn't mean I'll join the religion, but like I would love to see it.
I can respect
it.
Yep. Okay. Tips for ways to get unstuck. I feel
get unstuck.
The right grammar. Nikki, correct me if I'm wrong.
I love this question. Obviously, it's like very open-ended, but there's something in therapy called motivational interviewing. Motivational interviewing is basically an approach designed to strengthen someone's motivation and commitment to a specific goal by eliciting and exploring the person's own reasons for change with an atmosphere of acceptance and compassion. Sometimes when I think someone wants to change, or we see that, a change could benefit someone, we try to get them to change by pushing our own reasons for change onto them. So basically, what motivational interviewing does is it helps someone connect to their own wants and needs for change. So, a question you can ask yourself in this is, what is one small step you could take right now that would make you feel like you're moving forward? Um, and there's a couple reasons why this is effective. One of them is it focuses on action. Sometimes, we get really stuck in our head. We start to ruminate. When we get really stuck in our head, right? Same. It keeps us feeling like we can't make any movement. So when you focus on action, what can I do? It helps you to actually make some sort of movement. It also promotes a level of self efficacy. So by asking for that one small step, it reinforces the belief that the individual is capable of initiating change.
Mhm.
It's also forward looking. It shifts the attention towards progress and towards the future. Um, and so these are motivational interviewing questions are really, really helpful because you want to move out of this place of fear. Oh, I'm scared of what someone else is going to think. What if I can't do this? It starts to help you reframe your mindset to look at, oh, what can I do? And what's the action I'm going to do to move myself forward? So if you're curious about looking into this more, look up motivational interviewing questions. They can be we should probably do a whole episode on motivational
We can
interviewing.
remember one time, so we didn't learn about motivational interviewing in grad school. So one time, so we were like at post grad, like they teach you as much as they can in 2 years, but like this field is huge. So they can't teach you everything. So there was certain stuff that like after we graduated, we're like, oh, we want to do this training, we want to do this training, we went to this motivational interview training. It was so bad we left. We didn't even get the continuing eds. We were
We
like,
didn't
not
care.
even worth it.
It was so bad because he was teaching us stuff we already knew.
But not just that, he like was just like reading off the thing. It was just a pack. Like it was not, you know what I mean? Like I was like,
It wasn't
we're gonna leave.
engaging. We were like, let's get lunch. I think we got lunch.
Yeah, I think we were done.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get to this question because I would be too scared we would miss it.
Okay.
How do you stop looking to others for answers and instead search your own soul and dig deep? The first thing what you start doing is stop going to other people for answers.
Yes.
I think sometimes when we don't trust ourselves, then we look outside of ourselves for someone to give us thoughts, which can be really helpful. Sometimes I need someone else to call me out on my shit. But if I'm easily influenced, I want you to think about talking to yourself first. Writing it down to get it out of your head, right? Like write it down, think through a process. What would it be like if I was to leave this job? What's my fear? And then sometimes you'd be like, okay, now who is somebody I really trust I can go to, right? This is not everyone. Maybe you keep going to the same people and every time you leave, you feel worse. Stop going to those people.
Yeah. And I would ask yourself, like, what's the reason why you go to other people before you go to yourself? It might speak to the fact that it's hard to trust yourself. Where did you lose that trust in yourself? And maybe you didn't lose it. Maybe, it wasn't cultivated from an early age. Um, Maybe that was from like a really overprotective parent, right? Who didn't let you fall, like really protected you from making mistakes, learning, if I make a mistake, I can get myself out of this. I can work through this. Sometimes we lean on a parent or we lean on other people for a crutch as opposed to saying, okay, if I fail, quote unquote, or I fall or there's a mistake that happens, can I trust that I am going to be able to work through it and get myself through it? I think a lot of the time the fear that comes up is like, well, what if I fail? And then it stops there. Or like, what if I make a mistake? And then it stops there. Okay, take yourself a little bit deeper into that. What if you fail? What if you make a mistake? How are you going to get through it? Build that trust within yourself to know that if something were to happen, you can fall back on yourself. You can look to others for support. You know that you are going to be able to get through it. Sometimes we stop so quickly at, well, what if this happens? And then it keeps us from making any movement. But yeah, if you're someone who goes to other people all the time for advice, I would say, what is keeping you from asking yourself first? Like, I wonder if it's also this like need for validation in some way,
Mm.
right? Like, I need someone to validate the thing that I already
Yeah,
want.
co-sign this, baby.
Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, your friends have no idea what's going to happen. They can't predict the future either.
Neither can your therapist, for the record.
No.
Yeah. People are like, well, I went to my therapist, not my friends. I'm like, the fuck? You think we know? We
Right.
are not psychics.
We'll help you guide yourself to
Yes.
the right answer for you.
Yeah. And if you are seeing a therapist who gives you a lot of like, do this, you should do this, this is the right way, just, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yep. It's funny, Steve, you were talking about this idea of like failing, right? And then you like give up. Maybe think about, in the movie Bridesmaids, Kristen Wiig, right? She's in a total downward spiral because she got divorced and her business went down and that she basically
They
sabotages
broke up.
everything else.
They broke up. I don't think she was married.
Yes, she was.
Bet me. Bet me through the phone. Bet me through the camera.
Do you think? Now I'm like, does it matter?
No, it doesn't. I just love to bet you for dumb things. Okay, keep going. It doesn't.
Does it possibly matter?
We sometimes we will bet each other for literally
lot of
nothing,
dollars.
and then we just Venmo each other $1.
Yeah, $1. Yeah, we have a lot of bets going on. Now we'll find out. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't affect the story and point of what I'm making is for the record.
I'm sorry.
Morris broken up, uncoupled, consciously uncoupled, doesn't fucking matter.
Doesn't matter.
So she has this one thing happen and she is grief stricken and she is in despair. And then she basically sort of sabotages everything else. And so this part where she was feeling stuck. And then there's this really great scene where her mom, I guess, I love her mom is not an alcoholic, but is in AA.
Yes.
That's like one of the funniest parts about it. But her mom, like, right? So, like, her mom and Melissa McCarthy come in and, like, you're standing your own fucking way, man.
Yeah.
You got to keep feeling sorry for yourself or are you going to do something about it? And I think it's really hard because there are many of us have a victim mentality. I am one of these people. I am really good at blaming shit on other people. Don't ask my husband. He will be like, yeah, I know. And so this for me, sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't. Like we were feeling this 2 weeks ago. And then you were like, why don't we just cancel all this shit?
Yes.
Why don't we just not fucking do it? And I was like, oh my God.
Like,
but that would have been so hard for me to do on my own. I think it was kind of hard for you too to get there.
Was, yeah.
Except for shit was that bad. But like usually we have more choices than we realize, but we don't think those choices are an option because we're thinking about other people.
Yes. And now that you say that, it's easier for me. I don't know why. This goes back to our Em and Jen fall apart. It's easier for me to cancel things when you're struggling.
Yeah, because you're protecting me.
Struggling. Yeah. Because I feel very protective of you. And I'm very self-sacrificing where I'm just like, I don't matter.
Right. But for me, you're like, oh, like Emily's in a bad spot, even though and listen, and the things that we canceled, it ended up going out great. We have other people going that are super excited about it. I think that they're better fits than us. Right. Like everything worked out great. So I think the thing is we're scared to do something different.
Yeah.
You're scared to do something. And that all leads you to feeling stuck because it feels like there is no choices. But often there is.
I also think you kind of get in this mode of you're not even conscious of it because you do the same thing that you've always been doing, and so it just feels so natural. And the tough thing I think is to get very conscious of the fact that you do have different choices that you can make. Like you and I really struggle with this. Like if someone asks us for something, we say yes immediately. We, without the conscious understanding that like we can say no. I think we have a hard time with that. We're just like, yes. We'll do anything.
I remember when I was going out on maternity leave and my supervisor at the time, my mentor, Tom Wood, was like, I was like having a lot of anxiety about like referring like, a few different clients. And he was like, Emily, I hate to say this to you, but like, you're not that special. He was like, other people can do the work that you're doing. Like all of this shit, like you are not that fucking special. And I was like, oh my God, he's right. I'm not. But at the time it felt like, you know what I mean? Like it was me. I had to do it. It felt super like stuck. Like and it wasn't.
Yep.
And everything worked out fine.
Yep. And it's amazing. So someone else asked this, which I think is really, I want to tackle where to start if you're feeling stuck. Older I get, the harder it is to change.
Mm-hmm.
So like we said before, breaking down the process into manageable steps can be really helpful. I also wanted to kind of bring up the idea of looking at your internalized ideas about age, what it means to age, and your ideas about what you can and can't do as you get older. I think so often, and we hear this a lot when people are switching careers. A lot of people honestly transition into becoming a therapist. Like being a therapist is a second career for many people.
Yeah.
And so we hear this a lot when people are like, "Oh, I want to make this change, but I don't know. Like I've been doing this other thing for my whole life." And so I think there's this idea that especially as millennials, I think we've developed from the older generation, the generation above us, of you pick one career and you're in it for the rest of your life. And so I think that we've internalized that in a lot of ways of, okay, I've picked this career. I have to stick with it no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, yeah, go ahead.
Well, somebody asked in, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh, how to not feel stuck in my teaching job, but unsure of what I want to do next. Somebody literally asked that question.
Yes, exactly. So I feel like this is just like a very common thing. So I just want you to bring these kind of internalized subconscious ideas to the surface to ask yourself, like, what are your ideas about what it means to have a career? Can you make changes in your life? What does that look like? Is it okay? Really ask yourself those questions. And then if you're someone who's saying like, I don't know what to do next, take some time for like that exploration. Like things don't, kind of like we said earlier, things don't necessarily like come to you in a eureka moment. Um, do some research, like take time to really think about it. I know I only had a very short stint in marketing before I became a therapist, but when I made the change, I remember a friend saying to me, because I was kind of talking through like what I wanted to do. I didn't know. I was told that I like couldn't make any money as a therapist, blah, blah, blah. So I like had all of these things that were like keeping me from making this move. And I had a friend say to me, she was like, "What are you doing? Like you talk to everyone about their problems. Like, what are you waiting for?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." I don't know. I didn't want to go back to school. I felt like it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Going back to school was the best decision I've ever made. It was, and
Because you met me.
because I met you, number one, first and foremost. Secondly, it was like a transformative experience. Thirdly, it allowed me to do what I want to do. And that is, I think, if you're someone who's like, oh, I don't know if I want to go back to school, when you go back for something that really allows you to do what you want to do, like the years, the money, I know it puts you into a little bit of debt. Like it ends up being worth it over time. But I
A lot of bit of
understand.
debt if you decide to get your doctorate, which you don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Just
You
a
don't have to
reminder to
do
people,
that. Yeah.
you only need a master's.
Yes. So I just think, there are so many ideas about like, oh, I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to do this. I've been doing this one thing for so long. How could I change now? If it almost feels like you've wasted time if you change careers. But let me tell you, like when we have therapists that join that have been in other careers, it is tremendously helpful.
Yeah, they're awesome.
For them as
Huge difference.
therapists because they have such a breadth of, information of other experiences. And so that's what I just want to say. Like it's never too late to make a change.
Yeah. I think also, this person is saying how to not feel stuck in my teaching job and unsure of what I want to do. You can change the narrative in your mind. Right now I teach.
Yes.
My job for this year is that I teach.
Yes.
That does not mean forever. You are allowed to say, like, in this chapter of my life, I am teaching while I look at next, right? So you have to change the language and narrative for yourself to keep yourself out of that mindset.
Yes, I love that.
Okay. I like this one, growth in relationships, the beginning of the relationship with my husband and how to encourage his growth. So are you feeling that your partner's stuck?
Oh.
What do you think?
I mean, my first answer that
Sneaky
comes
therapy.
is sneaky therapy, of course. I will coin the term one day and I will create
your favorite modality.
a book. I talk to my therapist all the time about sneaky therapy. Oh God, so good. if you see that your partner's stuck and they're really struggling, I think that you can highlight to them, like, hey, I see you're really struggling. Just put it out there in the open. They might be so stuck in their own head, right? Like that. So pulling a little bit to say, I see that you're really struggling. Usually when you come home from blah, 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 you're doing XYZ. Now I see you just sitting on the couch, blah, blah, blah. I'm wondering like what's going on for you? Like, I kind of see that you're stuck. Is there anything I can do to help support you? Um, and maybe it is going to take them time to work through it, and that's okay. I think there's also something to be said about when our partner's going through a hard time, it can bring up a lot of anxiety for us of like, oh my God, I have to do something to make sure they're in a good place. But when we put that much pressure on our partners to be in a good place, it can sometimes invalidate a little bit of what they're going through. So, number one, I would acknowledge your own anxiety about your partner being in this stuck place. I would also look at, well, have they ever been in this place before? Have they gotten themselves out of it? If so, do they have the tools? Do they have the capability? And can I manage my own anxiety during this time so I can be a supportive partner for them? And if not, like if this is new, you can bring it out in the open. Say, hey, I noticed this. What's going on for you? Is there anything I can help you with? Um, and just navigate it over time. Sometimes, I mean, if you think about yourself when you feel stuck, when you feel like you're in a rut. If your partner came up to you and said, "Oh, what's taking you so long to feel better?" Or like they felt this anxiety about you getting better, how heavy that would feel for you. Um, how much more pressure you would feel to work through something when you're probably already putting pressure on yourself. So I think that calling it out and also giving them space to be able to work through it for themselves is really important. And sneaky
Yeah.
therapy, which will be my next book.
Your next book? What was the first one?
Like I
The fuck was your the first
the ShrinkChicks journal was our first one. Okay.
Dude, like, wait, so like, if you don't know, on Instagram, Liz Listens, our good friend Liz Earnshaw, writing, who like you've never seen anyone work as hard as Liz Earnshaw.
Oh my
like,
God.
let me be clear,
God.
right?
I don't
Like
know how she does it.
Liz is still seeing a full caseload, running her business. She's writing her second book, and every time I talk to her, I'm like, I don't understand. My brain doesn't work, bro. Like, she's just writing books all the time, just like it's very different. So I'm so glad to have your next book, Jen.
My next book, book number 2, just to be clear. Oh my God, where'd those balloons come from? What is it?
Well, it's not happening on my screen.
But do you see? But do something with your hands.
I see it.
Do something with your hands.
What'd you
do? do the double thumbs up. Do the double thumbs up. Good. Now stay there.
No, it's not happening.
What is going on for me?
I don't know. It's something weird, but the people can't see us when they're listening, so they don't understand how weird this is.
Cut this out if you need to. I'm sorry. What other questions we got?
Or just pull the clip and we'll put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, can we do this one? When to be realistic versus angry at capitalism, the man's circumstances that are trapping me. Yeah, man. Fucking listen, it's a real fucking problem, right? The man
did my friend Jamie write this in? There's no way. But she would have.
It is true, right? Like, what is like, am I just angry at the world or like, unhappy with my circumstances versus like here's what I'd say. Most things in our country is a setup for failure.
Yeah.
We are massively under circumstances of capitalism, quote unquote, the man, all these things. And that is very difficult. That being said, how do you have awareness of that and give it space? Because I think the one thing we can really take at that is self-compassion, right? What I know is that when capitalism and greed are such a huge part of our society, I'm going to have to be a lot more compassionate towards myself when I think, right, if I look at someone else doing just insane spending, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not working hard enough because I don't have the things they have. No, that's not how this works, right? And so I think what we can take from that is compassion. But being realistic versus being angry, you're allowed to be angry and not make it you stuck.
Yes.
Allowed to be angry. And what do we do with anger is the larger question.
Yeah. And what number was this? Sorry, I wanted to go back to it.
14.
14. Thank you.
It's not saying mad at men. It's saying the man, to be clear. Because I know
Thank
that
you.
just want to specify that.
I see that.
It's not saying at men.
I see that. I see that. But I think like, yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like, give yourself the space to be angry. There's no like right time, right? Like, you're angry, let yourself be angry and then move through it. Right. And I think sometimes we think, oh, because I'm angry, then I'm stuck in my anger. But you can be angry and also move forward.
Yeah.
Also look at the anger and saying like, how is this affecting me? Does this feel helpful for me? Does this feel productive? If it does, great. If it feels like it's keeping you stuck, then it might be time to move through the anger.
Yeah. And like, it's also what am I do with that anger, right? So in Alabama, they had a horrific ruling over IVF reproductive rights, right? The same time, I'm like, oh my God, I got an embryo sitting on ice in my Coleman cooler over here. Hope people know what a Coleman cooler is. That joke does not work as well.
I do.
And that brought up so much stuff. Reproductive rights brings up a lot for me. And so often people have said, oh, well, you've had so many miscarriages, you have all these fertility issues. How are you not pro-life? I'm like, because I don't know what the fuck pro-life means. Absolutely, it's pro-choice. My fertility issues have made me even more pro-choice than I had ever been before.
Yeah.
And that brought up so much for me. And so what? I can be angry at that, or I can donate to funds that are trying to change the law. I can donate to people that need to move their eggs and their egg freezing storage, right? What are the things I can do? I can reach out. I can make sure I voice my opinion. There are things that we can always do. And we talked about this a little bit in our episode about like social media and the addiction of social media and posting on social media, which is that sometimes we think posting helps, but it makes us feel like more of a void. So the question is, what do I do in real life?
Yeah.
What am I going to do with this? I'm going to be really fucking vocal about it, about why IVF rights and reproductive rights are incredibly important for all beings.
Yes. It felt like a good time for it. Didn't it? That like, could there have been a better time?
Why isn't it doing it on mine? Why am I not getting the I don't know what's happening.
IT department will help you after this.
Dear Em and Jen.
Dear Em and Jen, I got
you.
I
love this one.
I got you, girl. Dear Em and Jen, I'm a 33-year-old single male that goes to psychotherapy, and I currently meet with a 30-year-old female psychotherapist for sessions. From your experience and perspective, is it common or unconventional for, number one, selecting a therapist of the opposite gender, number two, preferring a therapist one's own age range / generation? For example, some of my friends and mentors act very skeptical of me having a woman psychotherapist for some reason. Maybe they just assume I'd act unprofessional or not be fully open / honest. Thanks for all you do.
That sounds like some projection. You can be whatever the fuck you want. Some people prefer older than their age. Some people prefer their own. Some people prefer same gender, opposite gender. I mean, this shit does not fucking matter. And it is not unconventional. They're right. Most, I will tell you this, from people who own a therapy practice, the majority of people are asking to meet with a female clinician.
Yeah.
Like we see with the data from our practice.
Yes.
I would say at least 60% that comes in, probably even more than that, want to work with a female provider.
Yes.
Which also might speak to people feeling safer around women or struggling with having men have large vulnerability in their own lives. I don't think there's anything particular about that. I think, first of all, you're fucking badass for going, man.
Yeah.
Hells yeah.
Let's give a shout out to the men that listen to our podcast, number one, and the men that go to therapy. Truly, we're giving you a round of applause because it's so important. But
yeah, that's how you change the world, baby.
That's how you change the world. But you can go to whoever feels like a good fit for you. It's okay to try different therapists. On our contact form, we put, like, is there something specific that you want, in a therapist that would help us match you better? Like we really in our contact forms make it specific to like what you're looking for in a therapist, because we know that the number one predictor of success in therapy is the relationship that you build with your therapist. And for some people, it might be that they feel more comfortable with a man, or they feel more comfortable with someone who is older than them. And other people feel more comfortable with a female who is of the same age or younger. There's so many different factors.
And lots of folks write in, I want someone who has lived experience being a parent. I want someone who has, or I don't need someone to have a lived experience as being queer, but they need to understand the queer community, right? So people are so good about being like, this would make me feel like I can open up. Yes. So whatever it is for you is the right thing.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Shrink Chicks.
We'll see you back here next week for another session.
In the meantime, if you want a question answered or a topic discussed, follow us on Instagram at ShrinkChicks. And if you're looking to get connected with a therapist like us to start or continue your therapeutic journey, visit thetherapygroup.com. Just fill out a contact form on our website, and we will personally match you with one of our amazing therapists. And for all of our therapists and group practice owners out there, we also offer group practice consulting.
And if you're looking to support yourself further and support our show, check out our amazing merch options at shrinkchicks.com/merch and our Know Yourself, Grow Yourself journal on Amazon. Also, if you'd be so kind, we'd love a rating, review, and for you to share with a friend or an enemy or a mother-in-law, honestly, whoever needs it, so that we can keep reaching more people on our mission to bring mental health topics to your ears every week.
Thanks for being here with us, and don't forget to grow yourself. You got to know yourself.